Good morning, Tyler. Good morning, Giselle. Can you guys do me a favor, please, and look in Schoology and see if you can see your grades now? I messed around with the settings in Schoology in the grade book earlier this morning to try to make it so that you could see your grades. So if you can just pop over there real quick and just check to see, that would be great. Because I've had some people say that they couldn't see their grades before, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm trying to see if I can fix that.
Hi.
You can see them now, Giselle? Okay. Hey, Emma.
Hi. You want to see a pretty drawing I drew?
Sure. Well, thank you, Giselle. Okay, so maybe I fixed it. That would be very cool if I did, because oh, that's pretty. I like that.
Okay, so
You know what you should do, Emma? I don't know if you thought about this, but you should put some of your stuff up on Etsy as like iPad backgrounds and stuff, like a digital file.
I don't know how to.
I bet your mom could help you.
Stuff. I mean, I would like to. That would be fun. I want money.
Yeah, I bet your mom could help you. I don't know what like the pricing is, but I know that people sell like digital files on Etsy, and then they can like print them out and stuff.
I mean, I could sell it for like 50 cents and be like, here, and just crank out a bunch of them.
It's like I bought on Etsy once, I bought some digital files for some succulent like prints. Because my mom had like a big one above their bed. So I printed them out like smaller and bought like similar frames so that it looked like, so there's a big one and then two little ones on the side above their bed. I think I paid like $5 each or something.
Hey, what is this Coral the comedy thing that I need to upload a picture for?
It's the, if you go to the Spanish theater, it was the assignment to draw, like it's at the very end of that slide.
Okay. I'm gonna not do it on the German exit ticket. Okay. I'm gonna
So,
redo that.
yeah, you guys should be able to see all of your grades now. I think I fixed it.
I can finally see my grades, and now I know what I need to fix.
Yeah. I figured out that there was a setting under like a sub menu that said like it's weird the way that it's worded. It's like hide grading period grades in student grade report. And it was clicked and I unclicked it and I think that's the one. So I think everybody should be able to see their grades now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I this morning I got up early and like I was like, I'm gonna fix it. Today will be the day.
Now I know what I need to fix. I promise you that I can get my RPA writing thing done by Friday. I can get it done by Friday.
All right. And I need it from everybody. So if you can see your RPA grade now, you should know everybody. There's lots and lots of people who I never got them from. So you're not the only one, but I feel like, and it could be wrong, but I feel like for whatever reason, like my class is less of a priority for some people than other classes. Maybe it's because our assignments are like the major assignments. I sort of like spaced them out. And so it sort of felt like, I don't know, but the fact that like only 3 people turned it in is not good.
I think it's also because we had a lot of assignments all crammed together in one short amount of time. Like I know that a lot of us had our other RPA and PE. We had like we were just working on the ends of communications.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was just so much crammed together for a lot of us.
I mean, we have a schedule that we've created to try to avoid that from happening. Let me look at the ninth grade schedule.
Like
But
at
it
least for me,
is,
I also had a math project during that time. I don't know about the other math class, but that was only for me in geometry. Not geometry. I'm in algebra 2.
yeah, I don't have that on here. That's not, geometry was supposed to be, yeah. Well, anyway, I think that that's one of the things is that when you don't turn things in on time, it becomes sort of a domino effect, right?
Yeah, agree. That's at least for me. Like, if I don't turn in one thing, then I forget the other things, and then
Yeah. And
proceeds through chaos.
so as soon as stuff starts being late, now you're pushing back the next class's stuff, right? And on and on and on until, now we're getting to the end of the semester. And that's why I'm having to say things like it's a hard deadline. Like there isn't, it can't be late after that, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no way to make it up, right? There's no class, there's no school, if that makes sense. So what I'm talking about, everybody, is you should be able to now see your grades in Schoology. So if you log into our class, it appears that I have found the magic button to press to fix it. So if you want to take a couple of minutes and take a look at those grades, and we can do that so that if you have any questions about, something that you're missing, I can answer that for you. But yeah, so it does become a domino effect. And that is one thing about deadlines, is that if they're not met, what happens then, right? So right now, you guys have sort of, because of the way that things are set up, you have sort of like a grace period, right? To turn stuff in late with no consequences. But like I said, that can sometimes result in that domino effect occurring where, like, okay, well, this is late, and now 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 it's the end of the semester and I have 17 things that I have to do, right? So I'm not saying that it isn't I'm not saying that it isn't like it isn't stressful, because it is, and it's stressful for us too, because now it's like, oh my God, like instead of giving myself the whole week of Thanksgiving to grade all these papers, I'm going to have like 3 days to do it, so like it's stressful on both ends. Which is why I would encourage you, maybe when you come into next quarter fresh, to really attempt to, from the beginning of the quarter, not let stuff get like sort of drag you under, right? Don't let those assignments start to build up where you have so many things that you have to make up by the end of the like the last 3 weeks. Questions?
Also, second quarter usually is the hardest quarter because you're still dealing with stuff from first quarter, and
yeah,
like after winter break, it's like a hard reset on everything.
Right. So I would say take advantage of that. I would also really highly encourage you guys, if you don't use a planner, to purchase a planner. I saw tons and tons of them at the dollar store yesterday. If I could, I would buy every single one of you one and send it to your homes. I would highly encourage you to buy a planner and just put deadlines and homework in that planner for yourself. Use it for school. And so that way you have a physical object to look at all the time. Good morning, Ahmed. Because as much as like Schoology has that calendar on, right? You can then look at your deadlines and say, okay, like here's what's due. Let me show you I have a decent, okay, so like here's the month thing, right? Then you can physically see like here's what's due on the 12th. So I also have something due on the 16th. So I have to get that 12th thing done first or whatever, right? But yes, okay, so Schoology grades should be available now where you can actually see them. And then here is the Nearpod for today. If you look also in Schoology, you can see that, you know, if we don't have another summative in this class, we're done with those. So once you turn in that RPA paper, it's just keeping up on exit tickets. Now I am considering giving you an extra credit opportunity for the King and I. That would be kind of similar to the quiz that you took for In the Heights. It will kind of be available based on if I feel like people are actually like watching and paying attention when we're actually like watching the movie, which is of course easier to gauge when we are in person, right? But I will probably come up with sort of something similar like a 15-point quiz. Those 15 points can then be applied to whatever summative you have your lowest grade in. So if it's the quiz or the, what's not working? The Nearpod? The Nearpod's not working?
Now it is.
Okay. If it's the history quiz, then we could apply it to that. If it's the playwright project, we could apply it to that. Or if it's the RPA paper, we could apply it to that. So if we can keep participation up in this class, which usually is not a problem for this class is a class that is eager to participate, then we will have an extra credit opportunity at the end of the semester. Sound good? Yes, Cameron, that is correct. Cameron asked, when we get done with our RPA, that's our last summative in your class. That is correct. Okay. There's not another one lurking in the background. I was trying to get them all done early so that then I think actually I had all of mine scheduled the earliest. So we wouldn't have to, like you guys wouldn't have to, you wouldn't have anything else after Thanksgiving break, like a big grade in this class. Another thing that I do want to talk about though, is that there are a lot of people who are not using like the time in class for exit tickets. And I'm not sure why, but what it results in is that I see that there are people who were in class, like here in class, who don't do the exit ticket and then get a 0 on it, which I don't understand because you don't remember to like go back and do it later. So please make sure to use the time that I've provided in class to do the exit ticket. Because if you forget to do it, then you're just missing out on like what I feel like is relatively easy credit. Okay. All right. So we've got half of us in the Nearpod. Please go ahead and sign into the Nearpod. We're going to talk about contemporary theater today. Oh, Hannah, that's right. Thank you for reminding me. It might take a while to load for some people depending on your internet connection. So I will share my screen And then those of you who are having trouble with the Nearpod, please do the participation in chat instead of in the Collaborate board, and everybody else can use the board that's in the Nearpod. So for those of you having trouble with the Nearpod, you can watch it through my screen. Okay, works. Does that work? All right. So we're going to talk about theater today. Not today, but really 2019, early 2020. We're going to talk about regional theater, meaning theater that is not in New York City. Then we'll talk about how COVID-19 affected theater all around the world, not just in America. And then we have, of course, an exit ticket for today. Okay, contemporary theater. So answer in the Nearpod. There's only a few of you. So the rest of you need to get into the Nearpod or answer in the chat. I will post the Nearpod again. What does it mean when something is contemporary? So now you guys know what my view of some of these slides look like. This is how I know who's participating. Sorry, I'm sniffly today. Okay, Ahmed, if you can't see it, I'm sharing my screen, so you can just watch through that. And then you can just tell me in the chat. You can participate in the chat. Yep. So when something is modern, present period, something's happening at the same time, from present time, okay. When it's along at the same time, okay. Thank you, Tyler, for participating in the chat. Something happening at the same moment, same time, okay. Okay, in the present moment in time. Okay, so it seems like everybody is sort of circling around the same idea, right? So yes, when we're talking about contemporary, we're talking about now, right? So the reason why I'm pointing this out is because, who said modern? Dara. The modern era in theater means something else, right? Modernism was during that period, sort of post World War I, where we talked about Henrik Ibsen and Anton Chekhov and August Strindberg, right? So we've actually had some things happen since the modern era, which is called thank you, Madeline, which is called post-modernism. Alyssa, I did not get your email. My email is, we had to all change our passwords, and since I did that, it is not syncing properly. So I'm gonna have to get that fixed. I just got your email. You're fine. Nope, don't feel bad. So yeah, so it goes, and I'm gonna type this in the chat: modernism, post-modernism, and now we're talking about things that are contemporary, meaning that most of them are happening now. They're set in the present period, or they are being created in the present time. Okay. Does that make sense? There's even some theorists who insert something else, which is post modernism, um, to even further differentiate like how much time has passed, right? And if you go into any like literature, like if you're planning on getting like an English degree, um, this idea of the isms, you're going to be very familiar with those, with using like trying to define eras of literature throughout time is very difficult. Okay. So, yes, so it means that it's stuff that we're writing and dealing with now, stuff that's happening now in the theater. So, like 2019, 2020, 20, probably from 2000 on, I would say. All right. Who would like to read this slide for us? Plays popular on Broadway.
Plays popular on Broadway. Genres of plays seen on Broadway in 2019/early 2020. Jukebox musicals, musicals based on already existing music, original musicals, musicals with new stories/scores, adaptations of older plays, plays we may have already spoken about done differently, adaptations of books. To Kill a Mockingbird was one of the most popular Broadway shows in 2019.
Great, perfect, thank you. So, thinking about what you watched for your paper, what one of these like categories does your play fall into? Or are there like multiple ones? Adaptations of a book. Okay, thank you, Zanette. Wonderful. Adaptation of a book, an original musical. All right. An original musical. You guys watched Hamilton? Is that correct? Because, yeah, that would be an original musical. And also an adaptation of like something that's really happened. If you watch something like Frozen or Shrek or like the SpongeBob the SpongeBob SquarePants musical, I think was an original musical and an adaptation of like a cartoon, right? But Frozen, right, is a jukebox musical because it's based on already existing music, right? What was I thinking about? Oh, like there was the Heathers musical is based, well, no, that was an adaptation of a movie. Oh, why can't I think of it? I had an example. Most Disney like on Broadway things, The Lion King on Broadway is a jukebox musical, right? I wish I could find a version of that we could watch. The Alanis Morissette musical, it's called like Jagged Little Pill. That is a jukebox musical. I know Green Day had one. I just can't remember the name of it, right? Okay, good. So you guys are, it's easy to see how this like even impacted the stuff that you watched for your RPA paper. So I want to introduce you to a version of adaptations of older plays. Okay. You guys remember Oedipus Rex? We watched it at the very beginning, or we talked about it. We watched that little animated thing. Oui, says Tyler. Tyler's practicing his French today. Okay, so that play by Sophocles had sequels, and one of them was about Oedipus's children and his two daughters, his two sons. Okay, so Antigone was another play by Sophocles, and she is the daughter of Oedipus. So Creon is still king. You remember that happened at the end of Oedipus Rex. And there's a civil war where one of Oedipus's sons is trying to take back the crown. He's killed, and Antigone wants to give him a proper burial because the idea was that without a proper burial, he wouldn't be able to like go to the afterlife, right? Creon orders that the traitors can't be buried properly, and Antigone does it anyway, and she gets caught. Now, Antigone is in love with Creon's son, which is kind of weird because they would be like definitely related, but whatever. And Haman, the son, is kind of torn between the two of them. So as punishment, instead of killing her outright, Creon buries Antigone alive in a cave where she commits suicide. When Haman finds her, because he goes to like get her out of the cave, he also kills himself, and then Haman's mom, Eurydice, also kills herself. So at the end, Creon basically says like, well, I caused my whole family to die because I was too proud and I defied the gods and I wouldn't allow like these proper burials, basically because of my pride. So that's the plot line. It's kind of heavy, right? So an ancient Greek play. Now I want to show you a, this is like a trailer for a version of this play that was done last year, and it was brought to Broadway by a Japanese theater troupe. Okay, so we're going to watch it, and then we're going to talk about it, and then we might watch it again because it seemed like watching it twice helped a lot. Okay. All right. So if you are able to watch this yourself on the near, actually, let's just everybody, since I'm sharing the slide, everybody watch the share, okay? And I'll play it through my computer. I'll play it through Zoom. All right, just to make it easier. So it's only a minute and a half. So just pay attention, observe. Does this look like the sort of ancient Greek theater that we talked about at the beginning of the semester? Does it look like Asian theater that we talked about, not too long ago? Or like, what are your responses to it? Okay, so either in the Nearpod or in the chat, how did that make you feel when you were watching it? Okay, so it looks like Asian drama to you, Hannah? Okay. Kind of scares you. Okay, the use of the shadows. Okay, yeah, that's a great observation, Victor. It was an awe. It looks like no drama. Okay. You were creeped out. Okay. Made you feel calm. See, that's what I like about this is like you can have people who like are sort of like scared of it. It doesn't look a lot like the ones we learned about, especially the instruments. That's very true, Tyler, right? It's definitely not they're not using traditional like Japanese instruments for this. Yes. Looks like they were doing a ritual. Okay. The very little light, it's very much like lit from the bottom. There's men and women. Good. It's interesting. It looked cold. Why do you think it looked cold? The sound scared you? I definitely got chills the first time. Do you think it looked cold because of all the water, the wind effects, the sort of like a cave? All right. Okay, so yeah, okay, so good. You guys did a great job. Okay, so it doesn't look like ancient Greek drama. It doesn't look like traditional Asian drama. It's something in between, right? It's a contemporary version of this sort of like fusion of the two, right? Now, if you look at, I'm going to go back one slide. So I can, okay, so we've got these rocks, right? This is Antigone up on the rock. And then who are these people? Do you guys remember who we had in ancient Greek drama? There were 15 of them for Sophocles. Ah, yes, the chorus, exactly. Okay. And if you see, okay, let me hit play. Okay, so at the very beginning, these are the two brothers that are fighting, right? And they kill themselves or they kill each other. And so here's Antigone, and she's defying Creon. She comes out and she does the burial ritual for her brothers, right? Okay. Then let me move to where we can actually kind of see. Okay, so here's the sisters, right? No masks, but do they look entirely human? The brothers were fighting in like a civil war. So one brother was fighting to support Creon's like kingdom, and one of them was opposing it. They look like witches. They look like dolls. Yeah, they look otherworldly, right? Okay. But they're not entirely human looking. They look like puppets. All right. Now, yeah, you can see down here, right? They're casting these huge shadows. And I don't know if you can see, but like right here by the play button, when they performed in the United States, they performed the play in Japanese and they put the translation up in the shadows. This is something very common in opera, especially. It's called super titles. Yeah, in opera they use it a lot. If the opera is done, in Italian, German, like most operas are, they put the English translation above the actors so that you can read it as you are watching the opera, right? So they did that for this. So looking at, let me get a good view of where we can see both of them. All of the way that they use the rocks. This is Creon, right? Who's got the big. If I told you that this is a play that's mostly about people who fail to communicate, does that sort of make the set? That one looks like a demon, Creon, with his big feathery cap, sort of. right? They're using the rocks like islands because, you know, that they can never, my interpretation at least is that, you know, Creon and Antigone can't connect. They can't communicate, kind of like how islands are like completely isolated, right? I wish I could find the full thing because I really want to watch this entire play now. The first time I watched this, I literally got chills. Like, it's such like a powerful presentation of something that's been around for literally like 2,500 years plus, right? It looks interesting. Yeah, I agree. Okay, great. Wonderful. Thank you guys. I'm glad you guys. So let's talk about regional theater. So you don't have to read all of this, Cameron. Why don't you read just the cities here? Because Cameron offered to read before.
Chicago, Steppenwolf, Second City, DePaul University, Northwestern, Boston, Lyric Stage Company, American Rep, Boston U, Emerson, San Francisco, the
Orpheum? Yeah.
the Orpheum, Berkeley Rep, American Conservatory
Conservatory.
Conservatory Theater.
Yeah, good. Okay, so this is just an idea for if you wanted to see professional theater outside of New York City, where are the places that you can go? Hannah, you're cracking me up. Although there is some good theater in Dallas. So outside of New York City, there's all of these cities: Chicago, Boston, San Francisco, Houston, Atlanta, which has one of like the biggest puppetry theaters in the country. Philadelphia, Washington, D.C. But here's some places that I bet you didn't expect. Minneapolis, Minnesota, which has more theater seats per capita than any other city except New York City. And Louisville, Kentucky, which is one of the fastest growing theater scenes in the entire country, partially because of the Actors Theater of Louisville and the Humana Festival that happens every year. So there are places where like it's not just that you have to go to New York. There's good theaters in Dallas even before before COVID, right? Obviously COVID like took did a big impact on like what's going on, but you don't have to go to New York City to see good theater. So I just want you to tell me, you got 3 minutes, what about this list of cities, these 10 cities that are like the best for theater outside of New York City, did you find the most surprising? And if you can't get into the Nearpod, you can just tell me in the chat. That Dallas isn't in there, Ahmed? Oh, that Minneapolis is though? Yeah. Yep. Kentucky. Yeah. Somebody in the last class said something about like, they had no idea that, Kentucky was so interested in theater. More popular cities weren't included. Okay. Like what? LA, maybe? Minneapolis because it's quite small and known for car racing. Oh, yeah. I didn't think about that, Luis. Dallas isn't in there. The absence of Dallas, even though Houston's there. Okay. Yeah, there are a few theaters in DFW. That Atlanta is one of the best cities for theater. Oh yeah, Mia. Especially if you're interested in puppetry or theater done, like there's a big emphasis on like Black theater, like doing theater, like raising up new like Black, like playwrights of color, or also like playwrights that are in the like gay community. That's a big thing in Atlanta for sure. It's a tourist attraction. Okay. All right. I think one of the things that you can think, Chicago. Oh yeah, Chicago's huge. Chicago, I think, is sort of like the second place that you go to do theater professionally. There are lots of my students who live now in Chicago, and are doing theater professionally. Oh, you thought San Francisco was more about art and architecture? I think the two sort of go hand in hand, right? When you have like a city that becomes known for other types of art, that the theater scene there just sort of becomes, it sort of happens, right? But one of the other big things is that when you are picking like a place to do theater in, you're looking for some place that has like a large population, but also regional, right? Well, that there's cities nearby that are missing theater, and there's a potential audience that might drive a couple of hours to see a professional play, if that makes sense. Okay. All right. All right, so let's talk about what has happened to theater during COVID-19. So just to your best sort of assumption, and again, you can say it in the chat if Nearpod isn't working for you. What do you think, what do you anticipate were some of the changes that theater had to make during the pandemic? Delays, yep. Okay, good. Okay, not as occupied, so not very many audiences, maybe incorporating masks, not doing live theater, less of an audience or a virtual audience or smaller audiences. Okay, good. Got a lot of good ideas. Oh, more expensive, says Tyler. Okay. Seating had to be more spread out. People using masks during the play. Oh, finding a way to keep the actors safe. Good. Anybody else? You guys have all, yeah, I think we've covered a lot of the stuff. Going virtual. Okay. There's only one thing that I can think of that I don't see yet. Miss Rona. Difficulty in finding actors. Okay. All right. Not doing them. Okay. So the only thing that I don't see that also happened is taking plays and staging them outside, since, you know, outside stages are safer, right, than indoor spaces. Okay. But yeah, so the impact of COVID-19. Who would like to read this slide for us? Hannah. Go ahead, Mildred. Thank you.
Broadway closed from March 12th until at least May 2021. Some federal relief was provided by the government. The Global Theatre in England had to call from emergency funding to avoid bankruptcy. Full refunds were given to ticket holders. Actors were suddenly unemployed, and many unable to get unemployment. My bad.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So yeah. So Broadway had to close, right? That was one of the first big things that happened. And right now they're saying they'll reopen in May 2020, but if that actually happens or not, we won't know, right? So yeah, the Globe Theater, which is whose theater was the Globe Theater in England, in London? You guys remember? Yeah. Who created the Globe Theater in London? Or who's it sort of known?
I think it was Shakespeare.
Yes. Okay. So yeah. So Shakespeare's Theater, the Globe Theater in London, they actually had to like have basically like a GoFundMe so that they didn't like go into bankruptcy. Now, one of the things that we do a lot in the theater is season tickets, right? You and Shakespeare made it together. So people who were season tickets holders got full refunds. Now, some of them said, like, keep the money, like, I love the theater, I want to support you guys. But, because of what's been happening, there were a lot of people who couldn't afford to do that. So that was a lot of lost revenue. And then the actors who were unemployed, a lot of them are contract workers, right? So they weren't able to get unemployment, not to mention that like a lot of their other jobs, like, a lot of actors are also like waiters. Well, we know what happened to the restaurant industry, right? So the fact that they were contract workers meant that their unemployment was just based on their job as a waiter, which is very tip based, right? So it was difficult for a lot of them to get like money from what do you mean, Mildred? They couldn't get out of their job? Like there was just no job to have, right? And there was no money to pay them. Yeah. Just basically, if you're a contract worker for unemployment, it's like a whole different way to like prove how much money you make on a regular basis, which means that the money that you get for unemployment can be very erratic. So even though maybe you make normally like $20,000 a year as an actor, if you make all that money in like a 3-month period, they still they don't take all of that money into account. So it's very weird. It's the same thing for people who are like Uber drivers or Lyft drivers, or they work for DoorDash because they're contract employees. So it's a whole mess. So yeah, as you guys basically said, what was the alternative? To stream the performances. Sometimes that meant that the actors would test, would go into isolation, they would test, and then they would create like a bubble to like rehearse and perform, right? And then record that and stream it. Or we've had lots of actors performing over Zoom, basically in what's called like a table reading, which I will type into the chat for you, where we're not obviously like in a theater performing, we're just reading the scene aloud together. And then what a lot of educational theaters did was they would pick plays that had really small casts, like 3 or 5 people, and then they would perform them outside using masks and social distancing for the actors and for the audience. So you guys pretty much hit on everything except for the idea of let's take it outside because it's safer to be outside than inside, right? Okay. Well, I want to give you the last few minutes to do your exit ticket. So please go ahead and open that up. It should be available for you. Let me double check because you know how bad I am at that. But I think I checked it already. And then my desperate request for you is to, over the weekend, please do your RPA paper. It says submissions disabled. Why? I know, Mildred. I don't know why I'm so bad at this. All right, it is up and you have 3 attempts. So go ahead. I'm sorry, I apologize. It seems like every time it's okay to blame the internet. But yeah, so you will please, if you did not turn in your RPA paper, turn in your RPA paper. Even if you turn in, as long as it meets the word count, it can count for a grade. Okay. So just make sure you meet the word count. Do the 3 paragraphs, you're good, right? Follow the format that I gave you. I believe in you. You can do this. I really, really want all of you to get a grade for that, okay? The class slides, of course, are also up in Schoology in case you need a refresher. And then next week, we have 3 days together. So next week, we are going to do directing, acting, directing, and then we're going to start watching The King and I. Oh, no, wait. Acting, directing, designers, and then we start watching The King and I because it takes 3. Is that right? It's not right. I need to fix the following week. I put you guys for 3 days twice. When is winter break? Winter break begins, our last day of class is the 18th. I just fixed that. I don't know why I did that with. What question 1 is asking? Yes, but let me make sure that I actually got it because I don't have. Okay, yes, I got Luisa's and I got Mia and Carla. Yes. Did it not edit that in? I thought I fixed it. If it doesn't have the all of the above, because I don't know what happened with that question, pick jute box. Oh my God. That one, musical. Because it was supposed to have 3 of them and then an all of the above, and I don't know what happened. I'm going to give everybody credit for that question, so don't worry. But I don't know. I messed up, I guess, when I submitted it, or I was maybe really tired, or both. Either or. All right, friends, it is 11:04, so I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all go. So please make sure that you do submit the exit ticket before the end of today, okay? And I will talk to you. Yeah, it is. Sinette, I messed up, or I didn't pay attention when I'm gonna fix it somehow. Questions.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, friends.
New creation. Really pretty.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
You should
it's
send me. You should send me the one that you showed me earlier, so I can make it my iPad background.
okay. I'll try asking my mom to figure out how to use Etsy. Actually, no, I might ask my stepmom because she knows a little more about Etsy.
Yeah, I think you could do that and make a little bit of pocket change. Put it in a savings account or something.
College.
All right,
Yes. I will turn this into college stuff, and I can post it on TikTok and be like, "Hey, buy my
Yeah,
stuff."
exactly. All right, my dear. I will see you.
Bye.
Bye bye. Yes,
Was Hamilton an original theater? Was it like an original play?
yes.
Original musical?
Yep, it sure was.
And for number one, can you pick more than one answer, or is it just one answer?
Just pick jukebox. It's supposed to be. There was supposed to be in all of the above, but it didn't work, and I don't know why. So.
Oh, so I can only pick one, right?
Yep.
Okay, got it.
Okay. All right.
Bye.
Bye bye.